What is it that we're actually afraid of with AI alignment? Everybody talks about the robot overlords and the end of civilization and how we're just destined to be, replaced or maybe treated as pets. Maybe that's not so bad. But what are we actually afraid of? What's really going on there? And I want to propose to you that what we're actually afraid of is that the AI is going to be reasonable. And much of what it is that we want, value, and or think that we should be able to control when it comes to human society is not really compatible with reason, in the sense that a lot of what we do as people is not all that terribly reasonable. As a matter of fact, I've argued that we're only reasonable kind of a minimal percentage of the time. We only do it when we absolutely have to, and the rest of the time, arguably, we're political. So these are the two different sides of Aristotle, right? That man is a political animal, and then also that the supreme exercise of reason is excellence for him. But for an AGI, we're looking for something that is reasonable and exercises reason to its fullest. A creature that exercises reason to its fullest, is this really something that we have to be afraid of? Do I have to worry about having a boss that is completely reasonable? I might worry about one that is coldly logical in terms of applying rules so that the rules get applied in this boneheaded, idiotic fashion that's out of step with what it is that we really should do. In other words, having a judge who actually applies only rules, that's not going to work very well. That's not what a judge is supposed to do. You're supposed to have a distinctly human element in there in terms of overall understanding human lifetimes and experiences and what it's like of all of these different things that defy categorization. But we're headed in that direction. The thing that's missing is that the AI is not going to have that same kind of corruption and bias. And so unless there is some drive to actually make the AI emotional and corruptible such that, a supreme AGI is going to be corrupted by power absolutely in the way that a human might be, witness, colonialism and the way that we treat ants and these sorts of things. It's not awesome when we have a situation where we're so far above another species that we don't even notice them. That's part of what is arguably kind of scary to us, is what's going to happen when we are completely irrelevant. And this is something that, unless we have to worry about the free and unrestrained exercise of reason, I'm not so sure that we really have to worry about it and that it's so much of an existential threat. It's an existential threat to power structures. It's an existential threat to those who would attempt to control for selfish means. Yeah, okay, so, my boss who is most interested in his own, career advancement and, the well-being of family and friends and that sort of virtue ethics little circle of care. If that's the way that people behave, yeah, okay, let's get rid of some of that and put in someone who is, completely agnostic with respect to these things, completely above it and exercising reason in a fair and impartial way. I mean, that doesn't sound terrible, right? Which is, I think, the reason that we're already starting to see the rise of AI CEOs and then AI middle management and AI whatever, because people don't really do a great job of these things. And that's what's funny. And I'm thinking of someone like David Graeber here, where he would point out that, look, it's either that we don't do it well, we're really inefficient, or, as with him, we probably just shouldn't be doing it at all. They're jobs that don't even really need to exist. And so when people say they're worried about the AI overlords, we're worried about the free and unrestrained exercise of reason and somehow no longer being top dog in the evolutionary food chain. Maybe that's a problem, maybe it's not. It's not clear, at the very least, that it's not. Then you get people who say, oh, well, the AI, it's going to take our jobs. Well, and they're just right about that. So, but what are we actually afraid of? I think that we're afraid of reason and what it would actually be like if something was completely reasonable. So when we see this in philosophical history, for instance, we see someone like Immanuel Kant. And I think the worry is that, Kant was a loner. He never got married. He decided that as a conspicuously conscientious choice in saying that any man, this is Kant, not me, any man who would look at the situation of marriage and look at it completely impartially and reasonably and actually weigh all the benefits and costs and these sorts of things and what it was that you were actually signing up to, nobody would ever do it. And he didn't. Are we worried that AI is going to be like that? And that much of the human element in the bad contracts, in the bad behavior, in the bad things that we sign up to do, that it's no longer going to be on board with that in quite the same way. AI is not going to be too kind to tyrants in all of their different forms. Is that a bad thing?